Hey everyone, and welcome back to your daily dose of tabletop RPG cringe. In today's episode of D&D Horror Stories, we have a tale about a dungeon master that abandons the group due to one player's religion, a story about a new player that causes a death in the party, and more. So, without further ado, let's hop right in. Our DM quit our group because one of our members was a Satanist. By Reddit user Sullivan376. This happened about 2 years ago, and I still chuckle about it sometimes. TLDR at the bottom, and the title should be a fair content warning about religion. When I first joined this group, I was specifically told by the DM that the group likes to crack jokes that can seem offensive to certain people, and to make sure to not take everything so personally. You should see the irony already. I understood this completely, and I was invited into the Discord server. I was welcomed well, and everything seemed great. There was always chatter in the Discord about anything really. We once had a whole discussion about pants, just to give you an idea of how random the chat can be. I noticed right off the bat that these people were good friends, and I didn't think much could get in between them. Oh, how caught off guard I was. After about 2 months of being in the group, I had become really good friends with these people. We talked on the daily and always had a good time. I really enjoyed this group. This is where things took a weird turn. One normal day, the general chat was making its normal round of random conversation. One of the topics was religion. Now, there are a few religious and non-religious people in this group, and we were having a civil discussion. One of our members actually came out as a Satanist, and when asked, he explained the commandments of a Satanist. Now, all of us in the group didn't take this too seriously, but we did talk about it for a hot minute. We continued to civilly share our opinions on religion, and then moved on to other topics. It was until we noticed that the DM had left the Discord. One of the players was soon messaged by the DM, stating that he will no longer DM for us because he doesn't want to associate with the player that is a Satanist. Now, that would be understandable if he was a hardcore Christian, or a religion that despises Satanism. But the kicker is that the DM was actually an atheist. We were a little thrown back from it. One of the Christian players did state that if this situation would have happened 2 years prior, he would have left the group too, but he was still pretty perplexed by this. As a final note, if it wasn't put across well, the discussion we had on religion was completely civil. We did not make fun of religion, nor did we make fun of anybody that was religious. We all put out our thoughts and opinions in a civil manner. I know that religion is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and it should be handled with care. We, as a group, did not know that Satanism was something that our DM did not like. We assumed that our civil discussion was civil enough that nobody would take it too personally, including the fact that we were in a Discord where we were allowed to talk about almost anything. The Satanist player actually did fill in as DM, until things got busy for a lot of people, and the group eventually fell apart. It was a great bunch of people, and I would definitely play with them again. TLDR, our player came out as a Satanist, and our atheist DM took it personally and quit the group because he could not associate himself with the player. Edit. A thing to note to clear things up. The DM was never a bad or toxic person. He was a decent guy and a good DM. He shared his fair amount of controversial stuff. It just caught us off guard that he left like that. I don't think anybody was a bad guy here, but I do think it's a pretty bad way to leave a group, especially if you're the DM. Well, that's a whole new spin on Satanic Panic. Now, I'm not really a religious person myself, and I don't really know much about modern-day Satanism. I could be wrong, but I always thought that Satanists were just kinda trolling the concept of religion on a whole, or something like that. It is kind of a mystery why the DM would leave over something like this, and I agree that it is kind of a dick move to leave suddenly, especially when you're the DM and the players depend on you to play the game. Let's move on. New player killed my character during his first session. By Reddit user Bleach Peach McGee. This happened about a month ago, but I'm still mad about it. Some coworkers and I started an online D&D campaign using Roll20 and D&D Beyond. We played every 2 weeks for about 6 months. Recently, one of the players decided to drop out due to some reoccurring scheduling conflicts. One of our other players decided to invite his friend to join us. This friend claims to be a DM for a campaign and an experienced player. All the players in this campaign have been playing for 5+ years, so we didn't really want to take on a brand new player unless they knew the basics at least. So we start off the session with some role-playing to get this new player accustomed to our characters. The introduction started off with my druid saving his character from drowning. Then we take off on our adventure and run into some bandits along the way. Now, mind you, our DM is pretty intense. Almost every encounter, big or small, ends with someone unconscious or making death saves. My character goes unconscious in the middle of the battle, which is already stressful because I know I'm going to have to make death saves all the way through since I'm the only healer. This new player launches a ballistic in my direction because I'm directly next to the strongest enemy. Again, I'm unconscious. He made a comment saying something to the effect of, "Well, it's too late to save her now," and he launches it, and I take more than my HP level of damage, so I'm permadead. Everyone was silent, and the dude just goes, "Dang, now I feel bad." Like, bro. To make it even worse, he never returned to another session. He just showed up, killed me, and then nobody heard from him ever since. The DM offered to get my character restored somehow, but I refused. I was kinda salty towards the DM too, and I wanted him to deal with introducing my new character and everything. In the end, I decided to play my old character's sister, who is a moon druid. Now, her spirit of healing appears as my old character, so that's kinda cool. Well, you know what they say, death comes like a thief in the night. He's there, kills you, and leaves. You would think that a new player coming into an established group that has been playing for a while would be a tad more careful about trying not to kill any of the other player characters. But no such luck with this new player. Though, at least OP now has a new character, with his old one still helping out from the afterlife. Let's move on. How My Group Got Labeled Racist by Reddit user Eladark89. Our story took place last Monday. The cast is me, the DM, Monk, male coworker, Tabs, female coworker, Cleric, female boss, and Observer, Ops for short, male non-coworker. Trust me, the indicator of sex comes into play later. I will preface this with the fact that the players were told before the game starts that I will have more control and will make sure we go on a set story, seeing that this session is meant completely to set up the world that they're playing in. Any session after that one, they will have a lot more free reign. I reiterated this before the session. Also, these players are brand new to the game. They all played a one-shot I did for Halloween, but we didn't cover any combat in the one-shot. It all starts when I was setting up my play area. My boss allows us to play in the main dining area after we close up for the day, as it's a restaurant. The Observer was chatting with my boss about doing a music thing later in the week or the next. After talking to her about that, he then walked over by me and started up a chat. I thought it went well, and he asked about sitting in and observing while we played for at least a half hour to an hour. At the time, I didn't see a problem with it. I was so woefully wrong. So we started the session, which is a homebrew of Spelljammer and the Radiant Citadel. I know about the issue with Spelljammer, so I kept some of those parts out. The first issue began after Obs pointed out that I was fluctuating with my accents and that I should do a better job at keeping them up. I explained that I was tired and having a hard time concentrating on the individual accents. The rest of the group didn't have a problem and were okay with me just dropping the accents. But then, Obs insisted that I do the accents to keep the story lively. I gave in and did the best I could and continued. After getting their Spelljammer ship and getting chased down by pirates, I had them teleported, ship and all, to an asteroid where they met a goddess that told them that they are called the Fateless and could make their own destiny outside of the gods because of the way that they were torn out of their respective worlds in the one-shot. Then Ob pitched in and said that it was unlikely and a poor story hook and line. He then proceeded to place his coat on my boss's shoulders and started to rub her back. At the time, I did see my boss was slightly uncomfortable at this, but took it anyways and allowed it. I thought at the time that if my boss had an issue, she would say something, but unfortunately she didn't. Ob would make a comment every once in a while to my other coworker, Tabs, which I did notice that it would make her uncomfortable. By the time of this happening, we started a few rounds of combat. Ob, after the first round, then proceeded to berate all the players about how they didn't know how to play the game and had no clue how to fight. I reminded him that they are new at this. This was their first combat, and his half hour was up and he should probably go. After that, he got up and suggested that he play with us next time, and wanted to play an overpowered psionic character like Mewtwo. He left, and we were able to get back to the game, and it went by rather well after that. I found out the next morning through Monk that the cleric, our boss, received a lot of sexually explicit text after we finished the game. She made the decision not to allow him to play his music at the restaurant in the future, and I made the decision to never allow him to play in any of our future sessions. We proceeded then to make new rules for our game, that only coworkers and family are allowed to play or watch from now on, and that's after everyone has given consent. As of today, my boss has received several more sexual texts, and now texts saying that we are racist, country bumpkins, two-faced Nazis, for denying Ob the ability to play in our D&D group and the restaurant. I didn't say this before, but yes, he is a man of color. She has received texts from several different numbers now that she and us are the reason people like him don't ever want to come to small towns. He has even threatened a lawsuit. I will update the post if this gets worse. It's obvious that no one from that group was racist in any shape or form, as the boss was going to hire the dude for a music gig, and the group let him sit down at their D&D game. It's only when Ob started being a dickhead to new players and the DM, and then started getting all creepy with their boss, that they decided not to have him come back. My advice would be to save those messages in case a restraining order is ever needed, and press charges for harassment if it doesn't stop. Though, those are just my thoughts, and I'll be keeping an eye out for any updates to this story. And before we get into the next one, if you're enjoying the video, consider clicking the like button, as it does a lot to help out the channel. Right, Ziggy?
Sí, y suscríbete y haz clic en la campana. Ya una cuerda.
But with that said, let's get right into the story. Not sure how to proceed. By Reddit user, Monica Raybrandt. Hello all. Not a full-blown horror story, but it still has the potential. I'm experiencing a bit of a problem, and I don't know how to address it right now. To start, I, 23-year-old male, am the DM for 4 players. Diana, 15-year-old female, Lauren, 22 non-binary, Brittany, 22-year-old female, and Stella, another 22-year-old female. All names are changed, of course. The relevant relationships here are myself and Stella, who have been dating for 7 years. Diana is my cousin, and Stella and Lauren have been friends since grade school. We are playing D&D 5e, Lost Mine of Phandelver, and plan on transitioning into Storm King's Thunder. We decided this because Brittany and Diana are brand new to tabletop RPGs. We hold a session 0 to talk about character creation, expectations, and things that we do and don't want in the game. Everyone here loves to roleplay, so we decided that relationships were okay in game, so long as all players were comfortable with it. Since Diana is a minor, anything sexual in nature will be faded to black, if it gets that far at all. The session 0 goes great, with everyone excited to start within the next few weeks. The game goes great, with a few large pauses in between some of the games, due to life getting in the way. but we've played off and on for over a year now. Yesterday, Lauren messaged me asking if I would be willing to DM or participate in a separate adult-only game, replacing Diana with another friend. They asked in a weird way, saying that with Diana's and everyone's schedules, we would only be able to play once a month, but with the adult-only campaign, we'd play weekly or every other week. This I know isn't true. Diana's schedule is open, and she can stay out till midnight on weekdays so long as she keeps her grades up, which wasn't a problem. Now, I know that Lauren is not a confrontational person. They like to dance around the topic with whoever they think would disagree with them. Knowing this, I read the subtext and wanted to think over my response, so I asked my partner, Stella, about this since she and Lauren went way back. It turned out Lauren had already talked to her about not wanting Diana in the game anymore, saying that it was weird having a minor there and that she didn't like some of the immature things that Diana did, her, quote, teenagerisms. Also, according to what they told Stella, Brittany agrees with Lauren, though nobody has given any hint of this the whole game, or even outside of the game. Just the adults would get together and hang out or go shopping, and this has never come up. I'm feeling really blindsided by this. Up to this point, everyone was getting along and having fun, or so I thought. So this was a little disheartening to learn, especially since Lauren knows that not communicating can lead to the collapse of a D&D game, as we've been through it in another campaign, but that's a horror story for another time. So now, I'm here not really knowing how to go forward with this. Do I call Lauren out and say what they're thinking so we can talk about that? Should I just answer what they asked and continue like I don't know? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on the matter, and I'll let you know how and if this gets resolved. Thanks. In my honest opinion and how the story is read, I think Lauren is trying to pull some shady stuff here. Coming to OP and telling him what the others are saying should always be treated with a bit of skepticism. I would talk to the group members without your cousin there and try to hash this out. Maybe make a game that is adult only, but not make it the main focus of the group, and keep the current campaign with your cousin still the main game. Though, if running 2 games separately is not an option, just tell Lauren that you won't kick out your cousin. She's family, and ejecting her from the campaign would be a shitty thing to do to a 15-year-old, who, as far as I can tell, hasn't done anything wrong. That could really hamper their self-confidence. Though, that's just my thinking. What do y'all think? And that is all we have for today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and may all of your rolls be natural 20. Until next time.